Welcome. We'd like to welcome some special visitors tonight. We have Jordan Weatherspoon from Madison County High School. Jordan is the Vice President of the Student Council, and she is the daughter of LaCara Chambers and Kendrick Weatherspoon. We also have Mrs. Wildgoose, Principal of Madison County High School, who will be leading us in our prayer. Please stand.
The pledge.
Good evening, which you've already had. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity, Lord, to come together and with a good mindset, Lord, to do the work and solve the issues that are facing the Madison County School District. Heavenly Father, we ask that we are good listeners and that we make great decisions. This we ask in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the Monday, January 7th, 2019 School Board Workshop. We have two amendments. We have the increase in solid waste by Mr. Tim Gim will be at 3.3, and placeholder for Madison Creative Arts Academy, 3.2.
That'll be by Mr. Hardy and Ms. Bars.
That'll be Mr. Hardy and Mrs. Barnes. Mrs. Bars, excuse me. All right, Madison Creative Arts. Oh, wait a minute.
Our staffing plan.
Let's review and discuss the staffing allocation plan.
Okay. I gave to you our staffing plan, our revised staffing plan that we reviewed on Friday. So if you'll go through, and you notice it says draft, if you'll go through it, if there's still any more changes you would like for me to make, let me know, because I would like to put this on our agenda for our next meeting. So if you have any changes, we can talk about it now. Otherwise, just call me and I'll make those changes. But these are the changes that we talked about on Friday.
I have one thing that I want us to maybe take a look at is concerning our clerical at the school sites. Maybe this is a decrease from what we currently have, but in our workshop Friday, we spoke of how staffed we are with clerical positions, secretaries, receptionists, clerks at the central school, and it's still a lot of numbers here. A lot of positions here, and I think we need to look at that before we make that this is the plan based upon the current state we're in.
Mr. Alford, can I finish? I've worked all day trying to identify areas and gather numbers. Can I try to finish gathering numbers tomorrow?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I wasn't sure if maybe this is.
Because I am trying to find other savings areas first. So
No, that's fine.
I prefer to have hard numbers.
That's fine.
Savings areas.
So this is not permanent right here. This is not
No,
the end result.
We can always change it.
Okay.
Again, but I would like to try to get it as final as we can.
Any other questions or discussion for Dr. Pickles? All right. We'll give you a few.
This is what we discussed on Friday. So I did want you to have it to review again. So we have a week to make some changes to it. And I will have hard numbers and try to meet with you this week, each of you individually. So we can move on to
All right, so in other words, they have another week to look it over and see, and let you know if they have any questions. Okay. All right, let's have placeholder for Madison Creative Arts Academy.
Good.
Hello. Hi.
We're here basically to see about getting an extension in the contract for a charter contract so that we can obtain USDA lending. And so that's the only purpose. There's still complete board oversight. There's still all the same terms. It's just running that number so we can obtain financing for expansion and/or building a new school.
And based on our reading of the statute, due to the fact that we were we were an A school our first 2 years, we've also had 2 clean audits that we have submitted. We are qualified for the high performing designation. We should have that designation within the next 2 to 3 weeks from the state, which would also qualify us for a 15-year contract at that point.
Any questions or discussion?
Just for curiosity, the 15 years, does that start from when you've opened or start right now, another 15?
It can be either.
It can be either, but we were thinking just when we start right now, just
Yeah,
do
I
it.
was just curious.
Yes, ma'am.
Had you eat up 2 of your years?
Yes, ma'am.
I think, Madam Chair, for me, I think probably the way we'd have to do it is do a renewal for this year, and then that renewal would be a 15-year. So you're not using up all of this charter,
Okay.
right? But you do a renewal right now, and that way you get the 15 years. I think otherwise, all you could do would be to tack on, 13 more years or
Right,
something.
right.
So-
I'd hate, for 2 years to have been
Right.
wasted when you're applying for funding.
Right, and that defeats what you're trying to do. I mean, you want to get the full
Exactly.
15 years.
And as you'll recall, a couple months ago, Ms. Bars came regarding the increase in the numbers because of their USDA grant application. So this helps solidify and strengthen their grant application. So I do recommend the approval to help them.
Well, and I think what we'd have to do is, you'd have to go ahead and submit a renewal, application for a renewal of the charter, but, the difference would be the 15 years, and then we process that, all that. So I don't think there's really anything you can do today, other than be aware that that's
aware of
coming. Staff's gonna be making a recommendation.
And answer any questions you guys have.
Any questions?
And are y'all anticipating any more students, or less students, or any kind of changes on any of that, or?
Well, the natural progression in the contract allows at year 3 of 328, so we plan on going to the 328. The 364, that large number, that will be determined once we decide, our facilities need some work before we take them out.
One of the things the board and Creative Arts Academy might want to think about is, when we did this originally, the reason for those stepped-in numbers, those limits, was because there would be a tremendous shock to the district for that money to be leaving during 1 year. But now we're in the position where the Creative Arts Academy's been here for a while, James Madison's been here for a while. You may actually not need those limits anymore. Most charters, I don't think, have those kinds of limits. And it's not, if you were in Orange County and somebody started a charter school, one charter school, that's not gonna affect your budget all that much. For us, it was a pretty big hit, and so that's why we put those limits. So I just bring that up. You may wanna think about just removing those altogether, or setting a different, adjusting that.
Thank you for that information. Any further questions? All right. We thank you for your successful, what you do out there.
Thank you
We
very much.
appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
All right. Mr. Ginn, increase in solid waste.
Good afternoon, board members.
Good afternoon.
Back in August, I came before you and presented to you our solid waste budget for the year of 2017-18 at $64,080. Since then, this new figure that I'm got in front of you, presenting to you this tonight, is an increase on a revised billing from the county up to $100,620. The increase is coming from the old bill, which I didn't catch it, and they didn't catch it, is they were picking up, they figured all their stuff on 6-yard dumpsters. We got 8-yard dumpsters. So they're charging us by the yardage of solid waste. So what they're doing, what they had to do is they added it up and done the corrections, and the 36,000 and some change is the increase on the amount of yardage that they're picking up from us. Now, this has been going on a while, so we're coming out on the top end of this thing because they could go back to 10 years, but they're not going back charge us any. What we're planning on doing is this 64,000 that y'all originally approved was coming out of general funds. All right, we're gonna split the cost, this $100,000, the cost with general funds and solid waste funding, because they're not solid waste, food service funding, because they generate half of the solid waste that we do, which figures out to be $50,310 for general funds and $50,310 for food service, which is actually putting $13,770 back to general funds. So we're coming out a little bit cheaper on the general funds end. But you know, I've talked with them, and they didn't catch, they hadn't caught it and finally caught it, and I didn't catch it. But they're the only game in town as far as solid waste goes, so we're kind of at the mercy of them. My recommendation is to take this and go with the $100,620.
Thank you, Mr. Ginn.
Any questions for Mr. Ginn?
No, thank you for.
Thank you,
working
Mr.
it out
Ginn.
so that general fund didn't have to take that hit.
You gotta have budget for that next time. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, the next.
All right, we've got a review of the January 22nd, 2019 agenda.
We have some of our standard items.
Yes, we do. We didn't make comments from the public. Do we have anyone that wanted to make a comment?
Maybe
Okay.
just announce it. Oh, no one signed in?
No one signed in? Okay, all right. Dr. Pickles?
We'll have the salary schedules to approve, that they need to be annually approved, so you'll just, they have not changed, but you'll be approving them. There will be some grant items there. We did receive our safety and security grant approval. I think we had one amendment to make. It was very minor, so that came in today. I think it came in today. So we have put that up there, so we ask for your approval for that, so we can begin spending that money. There we then have the waste removal, which Mr. Ginn just spoke to you about it, so you now know that funding source. And then we'll have budget amendments that we'll be making under our finance side. And then we do have staff trips, but notice they're grant funded, they are coming out of our leadership grants. And if you will notice, my 5-1 has now changed. I do not have any general fund staff trips. I have removed that item. I've also now stopped all general fund spending right now. So there is a student field trip coming up. I got told about one, so but I guess they just haven't got it. So we should have a student field trip. We do have public hearing, 2 of them. We have policy updates to have to do, so we'll have those. Our adult ed, we finally have identified somebody willing to teach for us in the evening. So, well, we've identified somebody willing to, and then we also want to reach out to our teachers. So I kind of have the stipends contract we have to do, so I'll have to have the board approve that. That comes out of our workforce funds. So Ms. Roger will present that. As far as personnel, right now, I don't think I've signed off on any. I don't think I've signed off on any.
We just have to get you to sign off on the one we fill in that we changed and found and put under Title 1A.
Okay. I was trying to remember if I had signed off on any.
We do have a para for the central school made out of ESC, and based off of our students, we have to get that one filled.
Yeah, yes, he will. I was trying to remember if I had signed off on any since our meeting, so. I do have a drop extension request. Based off statute, and I did look it up, and so under the critical teacher shortage, it is on the list, so she teaches science at Central. So I did put in there that I am recommending approval of the one-year extension, and it would be based on, if we need to, we can extend the drop. Doesn't necessarily mean we would definitely need a teacher, but we can extend the drop.
I would like to see what her salary is and what the totals could be, because I have a real issue.
We can extend the drop, doesn't necessarily mean we have to keep her. So
You mean, we don't have to keep her what? Her salary or
it's
her?
based on teacher need at the school too.
Right.
So,
But you said we can extend the drop, but don't need to,
Extending the drop gives you the option of bringing her back.
okay.
Because
But-
remember, you're not making those
But
decisions right now.
let me ask you, do you have to bring her back at her present salary?
Yes.
I'm just gonna say this right now, no matter how much we need somebody, I know that may be a critical shortage need, but there's no way I'm gonna sit here and recommend someone back when we're having to possibly make these cuts. And she would be at the top end of the scale.
well, this is a science teacher.
I hear what you're saying, and I see the need for it, but I also am faced right now with looking at $750,000 and not knowing where this is gonna come from. And there's no way I'm making this decision until I know we have that money.
Well, when I think of critical teacher shortage, I think we have that in all areas. Elementary teachers, we can't find elementary teachers, we can't find math teachers. I mean, in other words, it's just teachers in general, so it's critical, the whole thing. But to keep someone on and pay, and she must be at the top of the scale, that's just, it's a lot of money.
What would be her total benefits, please?
Wait, while they're looking. We'll have the financials, but there will be budget amendments. I did meet with Ms. Roderick today. Like I said, we will have some other grants to go through. We were identifying several areas where we could free up some monies, and signed off on one amendment today to possibly move some monies around, and she'll have several others for me tomorrow. So we're trying to work on these budget amendments to move supply money into instructional. This is the teacher we're talking about. to identify the step one coming back as far as the insurance?
That's correct. I mean, it can fluctuate a few thousand, but it's supposed to be around 300,000 on the health insurance.
So,
That's toward the 750.
yes. So they've worked on that. So it's not that much. Time we put that back and it comes back around March.
I still think, I've mentioned this before about having a healthy respect for money, and I'm going to continue mentioning it. I mean, for the taxpayers and for the students are our most important, we know that, and their safety. But, I mean, we're on thin ice right now. I feel like I am. I feel like we're just teetering, and that's a bad feeling. So I'm not in favor of hiring new people. We have teachers in this district who are teachers, but they're not teaching. So we can put them in the classroom if we have to.
Well, I told a principal today they were not getting a para because they were paid out of general funds.
Right. If you don't have the money, we can't spend the money.
At this point, I agree with you, Ms. Gibson. We are on thin ice.
I feel
and
like I am on thin ice right now.
I'm horrified over this, and I agree with you. And I mean, I'm one board member, but in my opinion, no one should be hired in this district. If we have a teaching vacancy, in my opinion, that comes open, we have teachers in the district, not in the classroom, and they should be put in the classroom before we fill another position in this district until these financial issues are settled. Because if not, we are not being good stewards of the district or the money.
Even myself, if I don't have the money, I don't spend it. And I'm not going to spend the taxpayers' money.
And the issue about the drop, I mean, I realize that science is a critical area, but when individuals go in the drop, they know what age they're going to be when they come out of it. And I've sat up here for years on the board, and people are anxious to go in it, and then they get the 5 years and get the money, and then they still want to stay. Ms. Gibson went in the drop, came out, sat out for a year,
No, it was only 30 days.
30
during
days,
that
and
time.
came back as a beginning teacher.
And it was not a problem. I knew what was going to happen. They wanted me to come back. I went back. Everybody was happy, and I accepted the beginning teacher pay. And just like this lady, I don't know her. I have nothing against her. But, like you said, when you go in the drop, in 5 years, you're out. And she may be critical, but I think there's a lot of the kindergarten teacher is critical to me. We just don't have the teachers.
I mean,
And I wish they'd changed the ruling on that, the year, now they have to sit out for a year. And when I was in the drop, you had to sit out for 30 days, so it did make a difference.
If we were in a healthy financial state,
Yes.
I would consider it, but it is not negotiable right now with me. I mean, but I'm one vote, and there's 4 others up here who would be willing to do it.
Base salary is 51,804, benefits is 13,953 on top of that, the total package of approximately $73,660.
Say it again, please.
73,660.54.
Okay.
That's a little,
Yeah,
pretty close.
all right. Any questions for Dr. Pickles? Okay, superintendent item, did you have anything else, Dr. Pickles?
Not necessarily. Mr. Copeland and I are still working on identifying areas we can
Right.
work on and working on these amendments. And then we will try to actually meet with each of you this week.
Okay,
This week.
sounds good. We can look forward to meeting with Dr. Pickles this week then. Attorney items,
No,
Mr.
ma'am,
Reeves?
Not unless you have questions of me.
Any questions for Mr. Reeves? All right, board member items. Ms. Williamson?
I don't have any, except that I do agree with everything that Mr. Hoffer said about our spending, and Ms. Gibson, it's bad. It's like, we gotta tighten it up to get it that good.
Basically, what you're saying is when you don't have the money, you don't spend the money. That's what it boils down to. Ms. Bell? Mr. Alford?
I just want to encourage all the employees within the district to think of ways that we can cut spending and with savings. Of my 16 years on the board, this is probably the worst in that I'm very anxious over this because in '06, when we went through this and had to cut the money, we did it for the next year. This is having to be done for July. So it is significant. Even the changes that Dr. Pickles has on the forefront, and there are many, and it's going to save us a lot of money next year, it's not going to affect us by July. So that's what makes this so significant. And as a board, we're responsible for the budget of this district.
So basically, it's the five of us that are responsible for it.
Yes, ma'am.
No one
Yes,
else, just
ma'am.
the five of us.
We're responsible, and we all here should be very anxious of it. Dr. Pickles has done everything she can,
Yes.
but we can't make money appear where it's not there. And this weekend, as I sat looking at this, the highest I got to was 300,000. And I'm glad to hear that it's less than what we were told Friday, but still it's great concerns for being anxious of what's ahead and the decisions we have to make. And I don't want people to think I'm being harsh about not allowing this person to extend the drop, but that is not, again, $73,000 is a lot going toward the 750. When we're looking at 30,000 here, 50,000 here, I mean, that's significant, and I think we just need to make these hard decisions and try to be very frugal with it until our fund balance is built back up where we're not in fear of going below 3%.
Okay, Mr. Alford, going back to what you said about the suggestions in 2006, now, I think rather than, I know the email went out to everybody, but instead of just throwing an email, maybe we can put something in their box, I mean, a sheet of, I don't know how we did it in 2006, but I remember doing it, though.
I personally would think maybe people are maybe afraid to maybe put it on the email and that other people will see it, and they'll think that if you're saying that this place should be cut, then people will be hard feelings toward that person. You're correct. If it could be some type of way, it could be
Well,
private.
Like, just to give them a form in their boxes, so they can,
Or some way where they may,
Suggestion box, you just drop it in, you don't
Suggestion
have to put
box,
your name
yeah.
on it.
where no one can see, because I mean, if you make a suggestion that this department is overstaffed, well, that department's gonna see it, and then they're gonna come after you.
I remember it. I remember the meeting that we had in North Florida Community College. We were all there. The suggestions were up there. I mean, it was all out in front of us. And that's what I'd like to see. I want the public and the
To be very
employees to
transparent with this.
see what's going on, so they'll understand. I think if we understand something, we're more apt to accept it.
Once we have solid numbers from Dr. Pickles and Mr. Copeland, I think it's imperative that the board goes from school to school, or if that's your school in your district, and explain to the people at that school, the parents, of what could be and where we're at. We did that back when we had to stop the door-to-door pickup, and it was contention at places, but it did put things, it would clear up a lot of things that may be out there that could be. I mean, I think that is very much on the forefront that we need to do to get ahead of this, where it's very transparent. We're very transparent. We're not trying to hide anything. This is very significant. People could be laid off, and we're going to be the ones that have to make those decisions, not the superintendent and not anyone
I was
else.
gonna ask Ms. Walter if you had any recommendations, or in the future, can you give us a list of?
Absolutely, and I just wanted to also clarify, we've got a lot of, we need to work the numbers down some more. I gave y'all what we could pull together at the time, but we've got to define a lot of things. So take what we gave you as a fair estimate, but we've got work to do this week to get it tied down tighter. And I just wanted to remind everyone also, while we do need to recognize expenditure problems, the big side of this coming about is a surprise in our FTE decrease. So it's
Right.
a top line reduction. It's not that we're so out of bounds on expenditures. We can do a lot better and we need to shore up, but we're down FTE significantly over what was forecasted and what was the actual count at the same time last year. And that's where, a lot of the shrinkage in the market.
And our fund balance has, year after year, crept down to where now we're at this 3%. back in the day, we were at 8 or 9%. If we would've had this fall, it wouldn't have mattered.
When I came on the board, we were at 12%.
Right, I
When
mean-
I was elected as superintendent, we were 4%.
So that's the issue. I mean, I think we do have, probably we're overstaffed in places where, and that's contributed to us getting down the fund balance to where we're at. And because if we would have had a healthier fund balance, we wouldn't be
No.
here having this discussion.
And the student enrollment is a statewide issue. Our auditor has told me that, it's across the state, it's not unique to us. And then Mr. Hamilton has told me that. I have been receiving some emails with suggestions, and I'm gonna compile them and start sharing them out there. Mr. Hamilton has sent his report, he's the consultant, so it's 24 pages, I believe. That's 24. And it gives you a historical financial look at our district. So it lets you know, there's quite a few suggestions on there, some you will not like.
Well, anything where we're gonna save money, I am gonna like, and
But there's 10 recommendations for us.
when I came on the board, APAGA was very big then, and that's the practice of really self-analyzing and looking at. And when I came on the board, we were in a state of financial issues, and we built back up the fund balance, and it can be built up, but it's going to take really looking at your staffing and seeing that we're not overstaffed. And obviously, we are overstaffed in places, or we would not.
That's the reason I didn't identify.
And I appreciate you getting that, or we wouldn't be in the state we're in.
I think we have to remember that the district is not the district that was 5-10 years ago. No, whatever the reasons are, we don't have as many students. I mean, every single school, the population is down, so therefore, we don't need all the people that we've had
In the past.
in the past. And it seems like we have them, and then you don't, we're not trying to get rid of people, but we have to face reality. We're in a very small district. I mean, Central, when we moved, and I was there when it opened up, I don't know, it was about 1,400, I think. Now we're down to 1,006. The high school's what,
It was
500?
17,
Okay, it was 100, okay.
1,700.
It was 100 and,
1,700.
it was 1,700, okay. So it was 20 years ago, okay. So in other words, it was 1,700 when the school opened up, and now we're down to 1,006. The high school, you know, it was over
It's
1,000
1,000.
years ago. Now we're down to, what, 520 or, so it's, we have to adjust accordingly, I think. And well, go ahead, Mr. Daniels.
No, I concur. I was just gonna say, the game has changed since, 10, 20 years ago. We factor in choice and everything. And so we have to react and, accordingly. And I'm a big believer of attrition, as a top priority. When someone leaves, if we can try to, fill by attrition and just kind of work in that way. But I'm very interested in hearing, the recommendations of our financial administrator.
If I can work him hard enough, maybe we can have it all pulled together tomorrow. I've worked a lot today. I have 3 of the schools' numbers
And
pulled together.
I guess my biggest thing is if we can just raise the awareness of the district staff and just let them know what we're really, really up against, in layman's terms. That it's not about cutting, trying to get rid of, but this is what we're up against, That's all.
And truly looking at how the district has changed, when I first came on the board in 2002, there was not virtual school, there was not homeschool, there was not choice, there was private school and going to public school and private school. Those were the only 2 options. Now you have a lot of options, and people are pulled in all different directions. Maybe they just don't want to go to school and they stay home. I mean, there's a lot of different things that children do now, but we have to be responsible and stay with within our budget and keep our fund balance where it should be, or it's gonna be bad news for us. And it'll be nothing that we can do when it gets to that point, because it's almost like a snowball effect. Once the ball starts rolling down the hill, there's gonna be no way to stop it.
And we can look to our neighboring county that they weren't able to handle their finances, and now they don't have a school system over there. And I'd like to thank Mr. Copeland for bringing up the FTE, which is
Right.
basically what is causing, it's one of our problems right now. I mean, that's the problem right now.
The thing that concerns me, and I talked to Dr. Pickles about it today, is that if the state has done this, then we need some type of assurance that it's not gonna happen again, because if we were to take another hit like this,
That's the reason that's the reason I've been trying to tell you with our automatic steps, we can't continue.
but Dr.
the
Pickles,
260, trying to get our fund balance up, I'm doing everything I can.
even
every little bit, and our
if,
automatic steps takes it away.
but even if we do that, what I'm saying is, I never remember in this amount of time that I've been on the board that we would have this big of a difference in what was projected and what the actual was.
Well,
And-
it's a snowball effect of everything, because we did lose some students, but then the forecast too.
But what I'm saying is, we've got to make sure is always, I mean, to the best of our ability, that in the future, that it's not this big of a hit again, because if it were to be, I mean, again, I'm hopeful that we're gonna come up with the money, but that's a lot of money to have to try to get in 6 months, a whole lot.
This is the reason I've been trying to tell y'all, we need to try to get to that 5%, and, which I've been trying my best to get us there.
Well, I don't think we've been extravagant, but I know I'm gonna be a lot less extravagant from this point on. That's why hiring new people, extending draft.
I don't know how the board feels about this. I saw you had written it somewhere where we need to approve all expenditures. Do we need to do that? Are we at that point? Mr. Reeves, what do you think?
Anything I feel is excessive, yes, I will bring. I have already told the principals, anything, I don't care if it's $30, we are already trying to make sure, is it something we can pull from, is it something, all of our schools are Title I schools. Is it something that should be coming out of their supplies instead of our general fund supplies? If a teacher's ordering something, why aren't they taking it? We are gonna have our second set of eyes looking at everything and double check. And if I just don't think it's necessary, I'll make it come to y'all and have you approve it.
I know that I received from Mr. Copeland, I appreciate him giving it, the registry of all the expenditures. Has everyone else received it?
I have, and I
Have you
appreciate it
received
too.
it? Is there any way that we all can get that, and if someone has a question, then they can ask at the meeting concerning?
I'll have that as part of it, or I can get it for you at any time you want it in the interim. We'll have it as part of the financial package also.
Yeah, I think that needs to be in there, and if people have a concern or something they're seeing, that a bill that's coming out of the general fund, then they can bring that up. And not that we're trying to play micromanage of it, but I mean, at this point, the point we're at, we're ultimately responsible for it, and I think it's within our best interest to look at everything. I mean, how do you feel, Ms. Gibson?
I agree, Mr. Alford. It's,
Mr.
I think
Daniels,
everything
how do you
has to be
feel?
looked
Yeah,
at.
I agree. At this point in the game, I agree. We can, maybe, especially in the interim.
Well, just saying, years ago, and Ms. Williams can speak to it, we did do that. We stopped that probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we stopped. But up until that point, I mean, at one point, we got all referrals in the district. Our packet would be that thick. Every referral that was processed through the district, we got, which, if a parent were to call you complaining of something, you would have the referral there to see what they were complaining about. But it stopped probably 6 years ago, maybe when our fund balance was at the 12%, it stopped. And I just think at this point that it's in our best interest to look back at the expenditures to see what's.
I agree. I think we all received a letter from the Madison County Foundation for Excellence in Education.
Yes, ma'am.
Last year, we sponsored a table, which would be $250. It comes to about $42 each. And if you'd like us, we could do that again this year, if you care to do it.
What is the date on that?
That's going to be January 31st
It's at the high school.
at the high school, right? Mhm.
I mean, I would like to do it, Ms. Gibson.
Are we all, Ms. Williamson? Would be fine? Ms. Bell? Okay. Dr. Pickles? Okay, that settles in. All right, we'll do that. All right,
Ms. Ginn is here. If anyone has their check, they can give to Ms. Ginn.
oh, okay. We'll accept that tonight then? Very good. Okay, we'll do that tonight
Who do you
then.
make the check to?
Madison County Foundation for this
Paul?
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned.